Welcome everyone to A30 Amplified, powered by PleasantonExpress.com and presented by Price Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Today's new episode, we are featuring newly hired Fire Chief of Pleasanton, the City of Pleasanton, Mr. Brad Chambers. Welcome, Mr. Chambers.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
Oh, doing well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. I know that you're fairly new, actually, but it seems like you hit the ground running, because as soon as you got here, it was just nonstop stuff, right? There's been a lot of fires lately.
It has been. It has been. Been here almost a year now.
Really?
October 1 will be a year. So
That was fast.
it was fast. It was fast. But it's been an exciting year, a fun year. Definitely busy. I don't think I'd trade it for anything. So
Really? So you're coming from ESD in Bear County, is that correct?
that's correct. I was a battalion chief for an ESD in Southeast and East Bear County.
Nice.
So
So, I mean, what got you into this career field?
yeah, that's a great question. My father was a firefighter when I was a young child, so I was kind of grew up around it. Always been around fire trucks and firefighters and all of that. And then my father was a fire marshal in Hayes County for a number of years and retired from there, and just kind of followed in his footsteps and fell in love with it. Fell in love with the career. It's still the best job in the world. Being a firefighter, it's wonderful. The camaraderie, helping people. We get to see people on their worst days, but we also get to see them on their best days, and we get to lend them a hand. So.
Earlier, before we started recording, you were talking about Hayes County and stuff. So is that where you grew up? You grew up in Hayes County area?
It is. I grew up in the Kyle, Buda area, back when Kyle and Buda was little. Not big like it is now. So
I know, we were talking about that earlier, how booming it is now. It's crazy.
it is.
There's like when you're driving on 35, there's like no nonstop of where are we? It's just city now.
That's right. When I was growing up, there was a Dairy Queen on the highway in Kyle, and in Buda there was a truck stop. That was it. There was no Sam's or Costco or Torchy's Tacos or Chili's or any of that. So
I always remember, I tell this story to a lot of people, but because I'm a big music fan, and growing up, I'm an 80s child. So going to a lot of concerts, there used to be a venue there around Hayes. What was it called? The Meadows or something?
South Park
Meadows. Yep. And now it's
shopping center.
Commercial shopping centers.
It is. So we'll see you at the 80s Bash this weekend.
Yes, I'll be there.
All right. No, that area has just exploded, and then working in the San Antonio area and Bear County's really exploded. And since I've been here, I mean, I've seen some pretty substantial development, I feel, in Atascosa County. Some of the homes coming in and everything like that.
It is, because you can see it moving further south.
Just creeping this way.
Exactly. You working in Hayes and then in Bear County, were you familiar with Pleasanton any time before then?
I did have a little bit of familiarity with Pleasanton when I worked in Bear County at the Bear County Fire Marshal's office for a number of years, and we would assist neighboring counties. So we would come into Atascosa County back when Chuck Garris was the fire marshal.
Yes.
Also when he was the fire chief here in Pleasanton. We would come and we would help assist when needed. We would go into other neighboring counties as well. We'd go out as far to Kerr County. We went to Real County to assist one time, and this was years ago. But we were down in Atascosa County quite a bit, assisting with larger fires.
Nice.
So.
Okay. Being a fireman, it's probably one of the most dangerous jobs ever. And you talked about how that was just something that you always look forward to doing. I mean, does that ever cross your mind? The dangers of it at all?
Oh, it does. Usually after I do something. After
it's like, why did I do that?
Exactly. It's one of those things, though. It is a dangerous job. We can't eliminate all the risk in this profession, but we can put in place certain processes to help minimize those risks. And as time has gone on throughout my career, you look back at what I was doing, 18, 20 years ago, and you look at what we're doing today, and it's like, wow, we're doing it a lot safer today than what we were 18 or 20 years ago. There's been a mindset shift on a lot of different topics, but No, definitely, the danger is something we think about, and, especially every time one of our trucks rolls out. If I'm not responding to the call with the guys, I'm maybe sitting in the office or sitting in a meeting, and I'm sitting there thinking, hey, what are these guys going to face? And, definitely something in the back of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And, you know, with you guys responding, now you just don't respond to fires. And I know, and I've seen this, and I would like for the public to know this, because when you guys are responding to something, it's in an emergency situation. And it may not always be a fire, because sometimes a lot of people will see that fire truck parked in front of someone's house, and I'll get a call or a text saying there's a fire at this so and so house, but really in reality it's not. It's just a medical emergency.
absolutely. So, we have here in Pleasanton, all of our firefighters are certified through the state, the Texas Commission on Fire Protection, as firefighters, but additionally we all carry at least an EMT basic certification. We have a couple paramedics, and then also an EMT advanced on staff. So in those advanced levels, that EMT advanced and paramedic, they can perform more skills, administer more medications during these types of emergencies. So anytime someone picks up the phone and dials 911, they'll get an ambulance from Atascosa County EMS, as well as a fire truck here in the city of Pleasanton. Most of the time that fire truck is, you'll see the big fire truck, just like you said, and it'll be parked in front of the house, and we're there to assist and provide any interventions that may be needed. So,
Coming to Pleasanton, was it something that you saw the job opening, and that was just maybe curious for you to try to come in and become a fire chief? Because had you been a fire chief before?
That's a great question. I had not been a fire chief before. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, I was a battalion chief, so I oversaw 4 fire stations and managed a captain and 3 lieutenants. And I was always interested in becoming a fire chief, and then when I saw the job posting, it piqued my interest, and I probably looked at it for about a week before I had applied. And I kind of applied on a whim and said, you know what, I feel that I would be good at this. And the next thing I know, it's an interview, and then here we are. So
you're here.
But this was probably the best decision of my career coming here. The city has been great. All city staff, from City Hall to Public Works to the police department, everyone has been welcoming. The county has been welcoming. The community has been welcoming. You have. I think we talked probably
from the get-go.
From the get-go. I think actually before I was actually on, I think we had spoke at a Crime Stoppers.
Yes.
The crime prevention meeting that the police department had at the Civic Center. So
yes, and right after that, I think there was a city council meeting where they introduced you as a new chief, and I was there. So
yes. So it's I've been very blessed and fortunate in my career, and I'm very, very happy to be here, to be part of the community, and I'm looking forward to many more years here. So.
Well, there's been, a few changes here and there throughout the department, and I think one of the changes, and we covered this for you, is you've got a new pumper truck that you guys just got, or a brush truck. A brush truck.
Absolutely, yeah. When I came, one of the big things was really evaluating where the organization was and what some needs were, and we purchased a new brush truck. We got it in May, and we equipped it, and we finally got the last bit of equipment in that was back ordered. We finally got that a few weeks ago and put that on the truck. And that truck since May has been on, I'd be lying if I told you a number, but it's been on a number of brush fires.
Well, yeah, as soon as you got that truck, it seemed like there was just grass fires after grass fire after grass fire. It's been crazy. It's
been super, super dry. I know there for a while we were getting some pretty consistent rain, but what that did was make all of these what we call light fuels, the grasses and the native grasses and the invasive grasses grow, and then it stopped raining, and those light fuels very easily dry out, and that's a mixture of the heat, the lack of humidity, the wind. It just takes that moisture right out. So we've been responding in the city as well as the county, to assist with grass fires. So
that's been really bad. I know on 37, they're always popping up. And I guess that's attributed by the 18-wheelers and maybe pieces of rubber or something that are flying off.
Absolutely. So that's a very common cause. When there's a blowout that occurs, a piece of hot rubber lands in the median or on the side of the road and lights a fire or ignites a fire. Also, sometimes what we'll see if someone has a chain dragging on their trailer. and it starts sparking, especially on these days with the low humidity and the high temperatures. We'll see that. So, we always try to ask people, like, check your tires. It's important. We check our tires every shift on the fire truck. The guys go and they check their tires to make sure they're not seeing any bulges or cuts or anything like that. And same thing when you're pulling trailer. Make sure your chains are crossed and make sure that they're not going to drag the roadway. So
yeah, and typical, we don't think about those things. We're just hauling stuff and just going and doing whatever, but we don't think about those things
because there's work to be done.
Yes, exactly. I know since you've been here, unfortunately, there have been like really 2 huge fires in the county where Pleasanton has had to assist. The one in North Atascosa County and Bexar County, where we had all those grass fires out there that were threatening so many homes, and we lost so many homes. I mean, you had just got here when that happened. I went out there to cover it. I had never seen anything like that. I mean, with the winds, what we're topping out at 50, 60 mile an hour winds.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Yes, so March 4th was that day that we had the 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and we started, I want to say, it was in the morning, it was before lunch. We went out to 37 on the highway.
37 was the first one, right?
Yes, sir. And I've been doing this since 2003. I've been in the fire service, and I have not seen fire behavior quite like that. That fire across the interstate was laying horizontal because of the winds, and it was very extreme. Thankfully, we had the support from our mutual aid partners all over the county that day. Everyone in this county stepped up and answered the call, no doubt about it. And most of the folks out in the county were doing it for free, as the volunteer fire departments, and they have limited budgets, and phenomenal response. Out on the highway we had Leming volunteer fire department, Black Hill, Jourdanton, Texas Parks and Wildlife. They have a wildlife guy who works here in the city, and he's trained with wildland firefighting, and he offered his assistance to us out there that day. So we really appreciated that. And then later that afternoon, there was the Duke fire up there near the Atascosa-Bexar County line, and that was a pretty extreme fire to really get a handle on, to really understand the magnitude of what was occurring, and then try to figure out your priorities and everything. So
I think one of the things that I saw out there which was really kind of cool, is how neighbors and people just kind of banded together to try to help fight all those little fires that were popping up. Because being there, and this, I was there and I saw it. One little flame of fire can produce massive loss.
Yeah.
And that's what I was seeing. Just a little fire here, if you didn't put it out, one of those sparks was flying behind you or something and causing another fire.
Absolutely.
It was nuts.
Absolutely.
I was literally standing there just looking at, as they were fighting a fire right here. I was in the middle of the road, and I hear screaming, and they're not loud, screaming. I just heard yelling, because they said, there's another one behind us. And I turn, and there's another, house catching on fire behind you.
Absolutely.
Weird.
Yeah, it was, those conditions they were ideal for the spread of fires. And, those fires were grass fires that, caught structures on fire. But, really, that's something we consider on any fire we go to. Even on these days, say we get a bunch of rain and it's green, and we're not too concerned about the wildland fires, the grass fires. But, if we get a norther that blows through, and we've got 30 mile an hour north winds, and there's a fire in some of these areas where homes are close to each other. So the wind plays a huge factor in what we do. And, that's something that we talk about. I try to send a message to our crews on duty, like, hey, be mindful of the winds and stuff like that. But I tell you what, our lieutenants here, they do a great job, and they're usually sending me messages like, hey, remember, it's going to be windy today, when the humidity is going to be down to 10% this afternoon or something like that. So but that day it was definitely busy, and thankfully we were able, working again with multiple mutual aid partners. I think every department in Atascosa County responded to something that day. I don't think there was any department that didn't respond.
Right. Yeah, because I remember being out there. I saw Jourdanton out there. I saw Poteet out there, of course. They were closer, but We had county commissioners out there.
Hmm.
I mean, there was just so much response to that fire. It was unbelievable.
There was. In Bear County, um, we worked well with Bear County, establishing a unified command post and working that fire together. Part of it was the majority of it was in Bear County, and a good portion of it was in Atascosa. And we were able to, coordinate the efforts there and split some resources and really get a good handle on it. And, very, very grateful for everyone that day. 'Cause
Yeah.
no one could have done that alone.
Right. And then the other one was the W.W. Wood fire, that was just, I don't think this county has ever seen anything like that ever before
Yeah,
in history.
that was a very large fire and very devastating for for that. Well, I think it was devastating for the whole county, losing a facility like that and everything. That was probably, looking back over my career, that was probably, I'd venture to say it was probably the largest fire I've ever been to.
Yeah. Because it burned for how many days after?
It burned for days. We had a presence there for 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we had a 24-hour presence on site for 4 or 5 days. I can't remember right off the top of my head. And then there were areas inside that warehouse that were still burning. And I say still burning. They were smoldering when we left. And then we, turned the 24-hour presence into multiple times a day we were going out and checking on it, and
Wow.
the facility had staff out there, ensuring that it was staying contained in that facility. So
I had talked to a fire marshal of the county, Ronald Sanchez, and he had told me that they had some drones, I guess, flying over, and it checks the temperature and stuff.
absolutely.
I don't remember what he told me, but it was when he told me, I thought the temperature was like, my gosh.
Yes. So the night of the fire, we had a drone from Bear County ESD number 2. They came out, and then for the remainder of the fire, we had a drone from the Atascosa County Sheriff's Office that came out, and they were both equipped with thermal imaging. So it could, you'd get the normal view, and then they'd switch over to the thermal camera, so you'd see the thermal view, and it would give you, the
hottest
estimated
parts.
temperatures. And I don't remember what it was the night of the fire, but I know that day after the fire, in some areas we were looking at 1,200 degrees. And
Because I think one time he told me there was it. I think it was even after the second day, it was like 900 degrees.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
it was holding all of that heat. So
But, and we had talked about this. I think you gave a presentation to the Congressman, Henry Cuellar, when he came here, and you gave that presentation where you were giving all the details about it and all the statistics of it. And, but just the temperature of it and how long it burned, it was just unbelievable because W.W. Wood, of course, we all know, makes that barbecue wood, and that's what it's meant to do, is to burn.
it's designed to burn. Yes. No, it is. And those temperatures were very extreme, and it was a very well advanced fire by the time we even got notified. And by the time we got on location, it was a very well advanced fire. But exactly like you said, everything in there, like that's what it was meant to do. It was meant to burn. And I will tell you that fire, it burned hot and for days.
Yeah.
And it did smell good because it was a lot of wood products.
Well, I was going to go into that because I've been to fires of house fires and stuff, and it's just not a very pleasant smell. But I heard a lot of people tell me, man, it smelled really good.
Oh yeah, no, and
that oak wood and the pecan.
That's right. Not only the largest fire of my career, but the best smelling fire of my career. But no, it was a lot, out there. And again, that fire, we couldn't have done that without all of our mutual aid partners. We had representation we had responders from Ada Volunteer Fire Department, Lemming Volunteer Fire Department, Black Hill, Jourdanton, Poteet, Campbellton. We had most of the ESDs from Bear County represented down here. They had brought water tenders down, so those are trucks carrying 2,000 plus gallons of water. We had Joint Base San Antonio, Randolph and Lackland Air Force Base, China Grove Fire Rescue from Bear County. We also had Wilson County sent apparatus and manpower from 2 of their ESDs to come out. So we had a very large response from surrounding counties and surrounding fire departments. And we're very, very appreciative for that, because that was something that we couldn't do by ourselves, and no one here could have. I mean, we needed the help, and again, everyone, without hesitation, jumped up and answered the call, and it was a lot of coordination, but we were able to get it.
I guess with the magnitude of something like that, it just comes down to, you make sure that there's no loss of human life, and make sure that everybody is safe. And then with the large square footage of this fire as well, I mean, is that just something that you guys just try to control after you figure out, well, we're okay with people, there's no people here, we don't have any injuries, or if we do, they're minor, then you just control what's happening, right?
Yeah, basically, and that's, when we got there, it was, we saw how advanced that fire was, how developed it was. It was throughout in a very large warehouse area, and I want to say a total rough estimate on square footage was over 150,000 square feet under roof that was damaged or destroyed, and we had to draw a line in the sand and say, this is where this fire is going to stop. And basically, we contained and confined that fire because we knew it was a defensive fire. We knew putting firefighters on a hose line and trying to send them in would not have been successful, and it would have been way too dangerous for our people or any people to go in there. So what we did, we said, hey, this is where we're going to stop this fire and make sure it doesn't spread. And there were some houses not too far away on some adjacent property, so we had sent 2 or 3 trucks over there to just sit and protect their properties. And then, of course, most of the efforts were actually on the WW Wood property, but that's exactly what we did. And we were able to actually save, even though it was such a large loss, we were able to save a lot of a good portion of their production area. They had kilns where they dry out wood. Those are still good. They had some other warehouse areas that were holding wood that weren't damaged by fire. So we were actually able to save a lot. We saved some front end loaders. We saved some skid steers. So we were able to save some equipment for them.
Wow, so. That's just incredible. I think other than those 2 fires, the other largest fire I've ever been to, and I'm sure since you've been in this career field for so long, is a forest fire. I don't know if you've ever been to a forest fire or seen with those pine trees. That's scary because those things are so flammable.
Oh, yes.
I remember going when I had moved to Southeast Texas and going to a fire, and I had just moved there and I had never covered a forest fire before. And my publisher then told me just to be careful when you go out there. I'm new to the area. I'm relying on my GPS on my phone. So I'm going to these areas. Well, when I start getting deeper into the forest area and I can see the smoke where it's coming from, well, I noticed that my bars on my phone are starting to shrink a little. I'm like a little concerned, but not too concerned. And I'm driving in these county roads where it's it's not like county roads here where it's just all flat.
Yeah,
it's trees and you can't see anything. So you're just driving in these county roads and winding roads and stuff. And I remember there was a intersection that I pulled up to, and there were some firefighters there, and they asked me, "What are you doing here? You need to turn around." I said that I work for the newspaper there, the Silsbee Bee, and they said, "Oh yeah, come in." They just let me in, and I'm driving in, and then there was I guess a command post that they had like a little campsite area there in the forest, and the emergency management coordinator of Hardin County was there. It was a female, and she knew me, and she called me over, and she's like, "Just stand here with us, Daniel, and you'll be okay." But she was just keep an eye out above us, and I'm like, "What?" She said, "That's where the fire is, Daniel. It's above us."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no, what am I? And that's when I started thinking, what am I doing here?
I bet that was scary.
It was very scary.
No, and we actually, when the fire gets above you, when it crowns in these trees, we call it crowning. And during extreme dry conditions here, we don't have pine trees here, right? Or if you do, there's not a lot. There's some scattered around on some properties. Most of it's, mesquite, and it's these little, short, brushy trees. And but we will see it rolling across these, and we've seen that in parts of this past summer. We saw it in some parts of southern Atascosa County. But I will say we're dry. We're not as dry as we could be, but we're definitely dry. And no, I can only imagine how you felt going into that. That had to have been heart pounding.
I don't know how many acres it burned. It burned a pretty good chunk of acreage there, and the Big Thicket Forest is what it's called. And it was caused by a power line.
Oh my goodness.
That just it was a little windy, and I think the power line busted or something, and it sparked, and that's all it was.
Yep.
And it just started from there.
Off it went. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was unusually dry that year, because that was the first year that I was there in Hardin County. It's wet there. I mean, it rains all the time. But it was unusual because when I got there, my publisher made fun of me because he knew where I was coming from, South Texas, dry, and he would just pick fun and say, "You just brought all that dry weather with you," because we did go through a drought once the first summer I was there. It was unusual. They said it didn't rain for like 3 or 4 months at all, and it typically it rains maybe 1 to 3 times a week there.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, I guess you brought the drought with you, huh?
I did.
Well,
and then when I moved back here, it rained like crazy. Like I brought the rain.
Can you bring some more rain somehow? Do a rain dance or go back and come back? I don't know.
I know. I need
because it's dry.
It is bad, and then we're getting to that time now where these cold fronts are going to start coming in. It's dry. Ugh, that's not good.
Yeah,
not to burst your bubble or anything.
No. We're expecting
Thanks for that,
it.
Daniel.
Yeah, no, we are. I tell you, with the cold fronts in the wintertime, we have a summer fire season, and a lot of times in Texas we have a winter fire season. We really run grass fires all year, but last February, March, that's when it kicked off. Again with the March 4th fires, and if I had to venture to say, we're going to see some, I don't know if we'll get another 60-mile-an-hour day of wind, but, we're going to see some windy days and dry days. And
you don't ever know. You don't ever know.
Yeah.
And you guys are coming up in the month of October where you do a lot of the fire safety stuff.
Yes.
Now, I know that you guys go to the schools, probably will be going to the schools this month, showing off the fire trucks. And the kids love to see all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Do you guys do that throughout the year, or is it just predominantly, do y'all keep it just in October?
So most of the schools will reach out to us, and they will coordinate. Last year, it was right when I started. I started beginning of October, so I jumped right into that. That was assigned to one of the lieutenants to handle all the coordination, and that's what it'll be this year. So they'll handle all the coordination, and we may go to this school this day and this school another day. But no, if there is a request and a public relations request, we'll fill that however we can and do what we can to help fill that, because we really want folks to know, we are your fire department. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here for you. We want people to know that we're here, we're normal. We don't want people to think we're sitting out there at the fire station and hiding in the fire station. If swing by, say hello, come meet the firefighters. October, I believe National Night Out is October 7th. Yes, we'll be out there with the Pleasanton Police Department at the River City Park. Come out, come say hi. We want to be out there. We want people to know who we are and what we do, and we have no issue showing you the fire truck, showing you things, teaching you things.
For us, and it's really cool to see those little kids, sitting in that fire truck with their little, you guys probably hand out the little plastic fire caps or the hats, and with those big wheels.
Yep, that's bigger than them. Yes, no, absolutely. And it's talking about that, when you see the smile on a kid's face, and you see the parents or the grandparents or whomever's there with them, it's really like, that's what it's about. If we can make a positive impact, and I feel that we do that a lot of times, whether we're helping someone, but it's not just when someone dials 911, it's those kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. Who knows? That may be the next fire chief one day, right? The next generation of firefighters, and that's what we need. So, we want to get people engaged. People always ask me, they talk about, and I didn't say this earlier, but talk about, why do you want to do this job? Well, what other job can you jump in a big red truck and honk the horn and turn the lights on and drive down the street? I mean, you can't do that anywhere else. Right. You got to be a firefighter to do that. So, I mean, it's a blast. It's a blast. So.
Well, my aunt, when I was growing up, and I was probably in high school, and she, my uncle was a firefighter. He was a firefighter in San Antonio, and he was there we retired from there. Great job, great career, great benefits, all of that good stuff. And she tried to get me to go do that. You know, you need to do it because it's a great career and stuff. And my number one question was not about how dangerous it is, or it was none of that. My number one question was, do I have to drive that truck? Because I am horrible at driving big vehicles. You know, if it's a Suburban, I can't do it.
Well, okay, we wouldn't just throw you behind the wheel. We'd give you a little bit of training,
Okay.
right? You know, you have to get a special driver's license from, from the state to drive them. So we'd get you all that and get you the training.
Yeah.
So, there's still hope. I mean, you still can.
Yep.
I mean, go get the stuff, apply with us. Come on, we'll do
I
it.
might do that.
So,
Or you just make me an honorary firefighter.
an
or
honorary,
something.
we'll make you an honorary driver for the day. So,
Okay.
I tell you what, it is the first time I drove a big fire truck. I was probably, they didn't let me touch them for a long time. I was probably I was 19, and we went to a parking lot, and they put me behind the wheel, and they said, just drive in the parking lot. And it was nerve-wracking. But I tell you what, that's the best job in the fire department, driving.
Is it?
If the fire chief thing doesn't work out for me, I'm going to be a driver. That's all I want to do. I want to be a driver. I want to wear a baseball cap, and I want to drive. That's it. So,
Well, these trucks, how many tons do they weigh with all the water in them and stuff?
so we're
and the
looking,
equipment.
you're looking 50, 60,000 pounds plus on a
Oh
lot of
my
these trucks.
Gosh.
So, ladder trucks, you're probably looking at about 80,000 pounds.
And they're booking it.
Yeah, and when we send these folks to driver training, that's something that we talk about is the weight, right? And and it's very very similar to driving, like a commercial vehicle. Like one of these 18-wheelers, these tractor trailers, or large vehicles carrying a heavy load. One of the big things we focus on the fire side is that load, what you're carrying, because water is over 8 pounds a gallon. So you got 1,000 gallons of water. That's over 8,000 pounds just right there in water.
Oh my gosh.
So
And does it?
so that's a great question. Does it slosh, right? I guess that's where you're
Yes.
going. So the tanks in modern fire trucks are actually baffled. Most tanks have they'll have walls in them with holes in them to prevent that sloshing going side to side
yeah.
and front and back.
Okay.
So, it may be a tank that's, say, as big as this table right here, but there may be two pieces of plastic or metal, whatever it's manufactured out of, that run through it with holes to prevent that sloshing. But when you do have a tank that's half full, you can feel it a lot of times more so than if the tank is completely full or completely empty.
Really?
So, but no, absolutely, the changing loads and the braking. I mean, it's a ton of things to learn about and a ton of things to consider. But, they don't stop on a dime. So,
Well, the other question I have is, after you guys battle a fire, and you get back to the station, you may have worked, however many hours it took to battle a fire.
Mm-hmm.
You get back to the station, you still have to get all the hoses together, back
Mm-hmm.
together. You got to clean the vehicles. There may be soot all over.
absolutely.
So your day isn't really done until.
No. We recently we had a fire just east of town. In the 200 block of Everett Road. I believe I had reached out. Well, I did reach out and gave you an update on that one. I think y'all ran
Yes.
an article on it. But so that day, we had our apparatus there. We had, I believe, 3 vehicles, 3 trucks there, and then Poteet was there, Lemming was there, and Attabear, volunteer fire department, was all there. Well, after that fire, we go back to the station. The air packs we had, someone has to refill those air cylinders,
Yes.
right? Someone we have to lay out all that hose. We have to wash that hose. We have to, ensure that all the trucks are full of water, which they do that usually before they leave the scene or right thereafter. Because if we do get a fire going back to the station, we have to be ready to respond. So, there's a ton of work to be done. And then, really for our guys, too, is really getting out of that clothes that they were in to get all that smoke and those carcinogens off, because firefighters are very prone to cancer, unfortunately, and we have a higher likelihood than the general public of being diagnosed with certain types of cancer. And so, really getting our firefighters out of those clothes, get them to shower. And, a lot of times some of them, they'll get back, they'll go shower and get out of those clothes, and they go to work, do all that stuff, and then have to take another shower because now they're all hot and sweaty again. But, really getting them out is, really trying to prevent some of the long-term effects of those carcinogens. But no, the day's definitely not over when the fire's out. There's a lot of work to be done, and then the lieutenant or myself or someone else is report responsible, having a type of report and all of that. So there's quite a bit that goes on afterwards. So
there is.
So
wow.
if you see us, if we have a fire that's over at 10 o'clock at night and you see us up at midnight at the fire station, that's pretty common. So
yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. Prerequisite of becoming a fireman. I think I talked to you about this. You have to be a good cook. Or do you prefer that? I'm gonna hire this guy because he sure can cook.
So being a good cook is pretty. I'm not gonna say it. There may or may not be a firefighter at the Pleasanton Fire Department right now who is, according to the crew, one of the crews an okay cook. I will not say their name to protect them, but they're learning. But yes, being a good cook is a great thing.
It's more of like just opening the package and putting it in the microwave.
It's like ramen, a cup of noodles, right? But no, I tell you what, the other day, I had come into work, about 8 a.m. It was, during the week, and one of the crews, and they have asked me to eat breakfast with them, a number of times, and I haven't, because they eat breakfast. They come in, they do work, and they eat breakfast about 10 or 11. Well, they had made. I was in my office, and I go, it smells like bacon. So I get down from behind my desk, and I walk down the hall, and they had made bacon, egg, like they were making these breakfast sandwiches that were they looked delicious, and oh my goodness. But no, and all sorts of good food there.
Yeah.
Yes, all sorts of good food, and they've got a pellet smoker, and they've obviously the full kitchen there, so they've got stove and oven, and got the griddle so they can do breakfast. The other day we actually, my assistant chief, Chief Hewlett, and I, and Curtis Roberson, the emergency management coordinator, we all had made breakfast for the guys one morning on the griddle.
Yeah.
So we had all bought breakfast and made it, and sat down and ate with them and stuff like that. But so we can gain weight real easy. So but on the other hand, I will say, part of the requirements, we do have requirements to do some physical activity during the day, during their shift. So there are requirements for that, and we have it written in policy, to have some strength and cardio. So you can't just go walk around the station for 30 minutes and call it good. You got to do a little bit of strength training in there. For the guys that just like weights, you got to at least walk around the station too, something. So,
yes, because I've been to the station and I've seen where you have the little weight room in there, and then you've got outside, I think there's where you can do some running. There's that hill or something, and then of course there's basketball goals there for the firefighters to play basketball if they want to. We've
got some big tires they'll flip and stuff like that, and we've got a good group, and it's the food. Oh, the food's great. The working out. It seems like, and I'll be the first to say I like eating more than I like working out. So, but
we'll let your other guys do the grunt work, right?
Well, I do a little bit of working out. I do, but not like I used to.
Yeah.
I will say it was quite the change going from a battalion chief on a truck, being out in the field all day, on shift work, to coming to this position, being Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, kind of a desk job. And it was quite the change. You'll still see me out there, running some calls, just because we're manpower limited. So, you'll still see me out there, but it was quite the change.
Yeah. There's still volunteers here at Pleasanton, is that correct?
We have one volunteer.
Okay.
Yep. We have one volunteer.
Good. How many firefighters right now do you have?
If we are fully staffed right now, which we're not, we're short a couple positions. 13.
Wow. Okay.
And then we have one part-time position.
Yeah.
So with the adoption of the budget being passed last week, we will get 2 additional positions. So that will bring our staffing up on every shift to 5 firefighters per shift.
Okay.
In Pleasanton. So.
And I guess when you have like a big fire like what happened, we don't want that to happen again. But like the W.W. Wood fire, I'm assuming that you have your firefighters on shift that are the first responders to that fire. Do you have to call others that were not working to come in and kind of fulfill?
Yeah, that's a great question. We did actually when that call came in. I saw the address and recognized the address, and immediately was on the phone as I'm getting in the truck with my assistant chief, and I said, "Hey, this is what happened. This is what's happening, and there's a plume of smoke." And he immediately got on the phone and started making phone calls to all the other shifts. And so that initial crew, a crew of 4, responded from Pleasanton to W.W. Wood, and we had 2 people at the station within 15 minutes, and then we had a full crew of 4 backfilling the station to maintain coverage in case something else happens in the city. We had a full crew within, I want to say, about 45 minutes. So we had 2 within 15, 4 within 45, and the staff. My staff they're phenomenal. They really are. They 100% answered the call. We had a gentleman who was at a birthday party in San Antonio with family. Another one was out to eat dinner with his girlfriend. They left that to come here. So they want to serve. They want to make this community better, and they do it. They do it every day that they come to work. So
that's awesome. Well, we're really happy to have you here, Chief Chambers. I think you made a big difference in the fire department here in the city, and it's always good to see your face all over town and to be a part of the community as well. So thank you for everything that you do. Yeah. If there's anything, you can always reach out to us. I think we're building a good partnership here with us, and that's what we like. We like to be involved with what you guys are doing because you guys work hard and do a lot. You know?
Well, I appreciate again the opportunity to just come visit, and we are there, 316 Airport Road. For you, your listeners, your viewers. I mean, we'd love people to come by, and hey, we're there. We're part of the community. So
yeah, for sure. If you're on Airport Road, you see that fire station, beautiful fire station. So go visit. These guys are great people to be around with. So. I think we're lucky to have you in the community. So anyway, always Chief Chambers here. Thank you for joining us here at 830 Amplified, powered by Pleasanton Express. We hope you enjoyed this episode and be looking forward to more. And don't forget that we are presented by Price Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Don't forget to go visit Price Chevrolet on West Oaklawn over there near Walmart. If you've gone to Walmart, you've gone too far, turn back around and ask for LJ. Talk to you guys soon.